Thank you so much for watching Landom C Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Escape from New York is a 1981 American science fiction action film that was co-written, co-scored, and directed by John Carpenter. It stars Kurt Russell, Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Adrienne Barbeau, and Harry Dean Stanton. The storyline goes that in 1997, a major war between the United States and the Soviet Union is concluding, and the entire island of Manhattan has been converted into a giant maximum security prison. When Air Force One is hijacked and crashes into the island, the president is taken hostage by a group of inmates. Snake Plissken, a former Special Forces soldier turned criminal, is recruited to retrieve the president in exchange for his own freedom. In 1981, director John Carpenter and former Disney star Kurt Russell set the standard for these type of films with this low-budget classic. Although the film takes place in New York City, the director and his crew couldn't film some of the more ambitious sequences there because it would have tied up a big portion of the city. So they went looking for an alternate location, and they found one in St. Louis, Missouri. Why St. Louis, you might ask? Well, a few years prior to the filming, a fire destroyed parts of the city's waterfront, leaving large areas of ruined buildings and empty streets that provided the perfect post-apocalyptic look. There were multiple blocks of burned-out buildings that seemed like they went on forever, and Carpenter was essentially given free rein to shoot in the city at night and cover the streets with debris to craft the perfect look for the film. When we first meet Snake Plissken, he's already a notorious prisoner and a former war hero being given a shot at freedom. But the director's original plan was to show the audience how he landed in prison in the first place. He initially shot an elaborate opening sequence featuring Snake and an accomplice pulling off a bank robbery, then fleeing on a hot-wired train before being captured. In screenings, audiences ultimately found it confusing, so it was cut out of the final film. When writing the original script for the movie, Carpenter was in search of a name for his main character. It just so happened that a friend of a friend actually knew a person named Snake Plissken, who Carpenter described as kind of a high school tough guy, complete with a snake tattoo. It was too perfect for him to pass up. At the time of the project's production, Kurt Russell was an actor best known for his work in Disney projects. He wasn't an action star at all, but director Carpenter thought he was perfect to play Snake. The studio, on the other hand, wanted a star like Tommy Lee Jones or Chuck Norris for the part. Carpenter dismissed Norris as too old and just flatly preferred Russell over Jones. So he fought for his young star and eventually won that battle. One of the most iconic things about the film is Snake's eye patch, and apparently that wasn't in the original script. Kurt Russell suggested it to Carpenter, who immediately likened the idea to a favorite Western hero. He immediately thought of John Wayne from True Grit, and they decided to run with this idea. Though much of the film was shot elsewhere, Carpenter did secure one key piece of New York City for on-location shooting, that being Liberty Island, for the sequence in which a helicopter flies by the Statue of Liberty, and the film establishes that it's now a headquarters for security forces. The city granted Carpenter unprecedented access to the island. They let him have the entire thing to themselves. They felt very lucky. It wasn't easy to get that initial permission because they had had a bombing 3 months earlier, and they were worried about trouble. The production was very good tenants, and they were extremely careful, and they cleaned up their messes afterwards. For the sequences where Snake has to fight a fellow prisoner, gladiator style, the director hired a pro wrestler, Ox Baker, who was so rough and real when rehearsing the fight scenes that Russell's stuntman only gave him one piece of advice, that being good luck. Russell had the last laugh, though, because he had to hit Baker in the back of the neck with an actual baseball bat studded with nails. A piece of padding was attached to Baker's neck to absorb the blow. But both Carpenter and Russell recall that the wrestler was a little on edge when this stunt had to take place. 3 years prior to this movie, Carpenter directed his breakthrough hit, the slasher film Halloween, which also proved to be the breakout film for star Jamie Lee Curtis. If Halloween hadn't worked out, it's doubtful that Carpenter ever would have made Escape from New York. So he called upon his Halloween star to participate when it finally happened. You won't see Curtis in the film, but you can hear her voice. It's believed that she lent her voice to the narrator role under the pseudonym Kathleen Blanchard. Jamie Lee wasn't the only Halloween star to appear in the project. Carpenter also called upon Donald Pleasance, who lent some star credibility to Halloween as Dr. Loomis. Now, Adrienne Barbeau is a real highlight in the film. She's the only pretty thing in it. At that time, John Carpenter was her husband, and she had a habit of being in his films. She cemented her role as a sex symbol for the late 70s and 1980s by the unbelievable popularity of her cheesecake poster. It's probably up there with the likes of the Farrah Fawcett poster. Her popularity stemmed partly from what critic Joe Bob Briggs referred to as the two enormous talents of that woman and her typecasting as a tough broad. Despite her initial success, she said at the time that she thought of Hollywood as a flesh market and that she would rather appear in films that explore the human condition and dealt with issues. But that's just not the way things are. This gritty movie probably would be hard to watch if you didn't see this beautiful lady in it. Take a look at this film. It's really good. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.